Welcome back to our channel where we provide updates and undisclosed narratives on Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. We provide you with the exciting news, royal family in shock, after 15 most arrogant members revealed, by royal expert tradition continuity, and the personification of dignity, responsibility, and restraint, are what make up the British royal family. In today's media age, these expectations are shaped by celebrity culture, constant press scrutiny, and changing social norms. In recent decades, the acts, relationships, and public images of individual royals have regularly affected their reputations, sparked tabloid stories, and prompted institutional responses. This research offers a compilation of concise histories of notable European royals and their close relatives whose actions, attitudes, and associations have sparked considerable public controversy or sustained debate. Each profile summarizes the events' behavior patterns and institutional effects that have had the most impact on public image. Princess Margaret, 1930-2002. Princess Margaret lived in a place where wealth and lack of it met. She was the king's younger sister and served as the spare, a typical royal role that came with both favor and an unsettled, occasionally resentful status. Instead of just being a pretty face, Margaret became a person who loved the arts, fashion, travel, and having a lot of fun with friends. She became a symbol of fashion in the middle of the 20th century. People constantly saw her at parties, nightclubs, and cultural events, and they admired her intelligence, elegance, and beautiful looks. But that very exposure went against the royal ideal of being modest and holding back. Margaret routinely broke royal rules by smoking and drinking in public, hanging out with celebrities, and being honest in a way that made more conventional people uncomfortable. Biographers say that she was very smart and had a sharp sense of humor. Stories of her sharp remarks and the expectation of respect spread among staff, which helped to build an image of arrogance. These traits were made stronger by the details of her personal life. Her very public relationship with Group Captain Peter Townsend in the early 1950s caused a constitutional and religious problem. Townsend was divorced, which made it harder for the Church of England and political reasons to support a royal marriage. Many people thought it was a horrible sacrifice for duty for Margaret to not marry Townsend, but many who know her say that the incident left her emotionally damaged and open to doubt. Her marriage to Anthony Armstrong Jones, later Earl of Snowdon in 1960, seemed like a modern arts-focused union at first. However, it quickly turned into a tumultuous relationship full of cheating public fights and a divorce in 1978, the first major royal divorce in decades. The breakup got a lot of media attention and caused a lot of personal problems, such money problems, custody fights, and a public image that went from charming to cold and dismissive. In her latter years, Margaret developed health problems and became known as both a fashion hero and a warning about how the monarchy's private sacrifices and public scrutiny might hurt personal happiness. Her past made it hard to come up with a simple moral interpretation. She was a woman of great competence and social daring, and the institutional setting she was in made her personal sacrifices much worse. Duke of York, Prince Andrew. One of the worst things that has happened to the contemporary monarchy's prestige is that people no longer respect Prince Andrew. In the early part of his career, he was well known as a naval officer who fought in the Falklands War and was known for being charming and good with people. After that, he took on a lot of public duties. However, reports from aides and staff throughout the years claimed that he was more difficult to deal with, as he could be demanding, short-tempered, and quick to treat subordinates poorly. These traits are common in high-pressure jobs, but the bad thing about him was that he had a long-term relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, a millionaire who was later found guilty of sexual crimes. After Epstein was arrested in 2019 and died, the relationship got further attention. Most people thought Prince Andrew's attempt to explain the link during a televised interview that November was a public relations disaster. Critics claimed he sounded defensive, didn't show any empathy for the alleged victims, and gave reasons that many viewers thought were unlikely. The interview got a lot of media attention and led to further legal action. Virginia Giuffre's civil lawsuit in the United States accused Andrew of sexually assaulting her when she was a minor. Andrew denied the claims but agreed to a financial settlement in 2022 without admitting any wrongdoing. He also expressed regret for his relationship with Epstein and called Giuffre a victim of abuse. The settlement, along with ongoing public outrage, led to the loss of his military patronages and many public roles, effectively ending his active public royal career. The narrative shows several things, such as the reputational cost of associating with shady people, the risks of a communication style that is seen as tone-deaf, and how quickly private problems may turn into serious institutional difficulties. Andrew's condition made it evident that the monarchy needed to set clearer limitations and put in place faster ways to hold people accountable for acts that hurt public trust. Philip the Prince lived from 1921 until 2021. Prince Philip's public image was a mix of a long history of private influence and public service, together with a habit of making off-the-cuff statements that sparked controversy. For over 70 years, he was a key figure in the workings of the monarchy. He supported the Queen's constitutional role, created the Duke of Edinburgh's award to help young people improve their skills and resilience, and pushed for scientific, environmental, and engineering projects. His management of the royal household and business were mostly praised for bringing certain parts of palace life up to date and making people feel like they had to do things. At the same time, Philip's bluntness and ability to make short, sometimes rude remarks earned him the nickname Gaffer, which means someone who says improper things. There have been a number of comments made in public memory that have to do with race, gender, and physical appearance. Some of these comments were called trivial mistakes, while others were called offensive. Supporters argued they were attempts at earthy comedy or short conversations, while others regarded them as signs of an insensitive, outdated point of view. The cumulative effect of ongoing negative stories made his legacy more complicated. People admired him for his loyalty and commitment, but he was frequently unfairly associated to the mistakes of a generation. Biographical tales emphasize his emotional reserve and elevated expectations, particularly concerning his children, traits that demonstrate how a private demeanor may affect the public domain when a family is pivotal to national matters. Princess Michael of Kent, Marie Christine von Reibnitz. Princess Michael of Kent has a unique place in current royal discourse because of her aristocratic behavior and combative public character, which have drawn a lot of attention. She hasn't worked as a princess and hasn't had a lot of responsibilities, but she still expected a certain level of respect because of her rank and ancestry. Tabloid journalism frequently calls her pushy, while stories from social insiders and staff that don't agree with each other focus on her obsession with proper behavior, which may appear too much for her official position. Things that were generally perceived as racially improper hurt her image a lot. In 2004, she was reported to have suggested in New York that African American diners should go back to the colonies. She denied any racist intent and later made remarks to explain, but the concept stayed in the public's mind. In December 2017, she made things worse by wearing a blackamoor brooch to a pre-Christmas meal at Buckingham Palace that Meghan Markle also attended. The brooch's colonial-era symbols and the fact that the future king is of mixed race caused an instant outcry and led to further questions about the palace's understanding of race and imperialism in contemporary Britain. The princess stated she was sorry and promised not to wear the item again. However, the incidents made people think of a royal whose mistakes, whether they were due to true insensitivity or lack of awareness, made it much harder to change the monarchy's image. Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York. Sarah Ferguson has had a lot of problems in her personal life, including bad behavior, money problems, and trying to start over. When she married Prince Andrew in 1986, she was known for being warm and friendly. As a young royal, many complimented her natural ability to connect with others. Even yet, the couple's marriage fell apart in public because of money troubles, media meddling, and recorded relationship issues. They finally separated and were divorced in the middle of the 1990s. The most famous event happened in 1992, when a lot of compromising pictures of Ferguson with an American businessman in a relaxed personal setting were widely shared. This led to a scandal that supposedly caused his family to shun him and required a long period of rehabilitation. Financial problems and an inclination to seek commercial revenue made them even more upset. In 2010, a secret tape seemed to show Ferguson offering to sell access to Prince Andrew for money and being paid in cash. She later apologized, calling it a serious lapse in judgment caused by financial problems. The occurrence backed up a story about acting on impulse and the blurry lines between public and private life. Despite these failures, Ferguson has worked hard to improve her public image by becoming involved in charities, especially those that help children and teach them to read, as well as via media projects. Her lengthy journey from being a beloved outsider to a scandalous person and then back to a semblance of rehabilitation shows how being financially unstable, being obsessed with celebrities, and being in a long royal position can all lead to repeated reputational problems. It shows that long-term charitable work may help someone become popular again, even if some people are still not sure. His Serene Highness Prince Albert II of Monaco. Prince Albert II of Monaco is not a British royal, but he is a European king who is closely watched and whose personal and family life has always been of interest. Albert, the son of Rainier III and Hollywood actress Grace Kelly, had a unique mix of charm and duty as a royal. His work for the environment and for those in need has earned him praise. His foundation and policy work on climate change and conservation have also gotten a lot of attention. However, problems with his personal life and becoming a father have sometimes hurt his reputation. Albert had children out of wedlock and subsequently acknowledged them. This drew tabloid attention and sparked public debate on accountability and responsibility. Rumors continued because of additional disputed paternity claims and a public marriage to Charlene Whitstock, which occasionally showed harsh body language and interactions. Charlene's protracted absence from public events in 2021, which was officially explained as being due to treatment for a serious ENT ailment, made worse by infections that made it hard for her to travel, led to further rumors about problems in her marriage and the stress of being a constitutional royal. Critics say that Albert is emotionally distant and hard to read on personal matters. This shows how hard it is to balance royal immunity and privacy with calls for public transparency. At the same time, his work for the environment and charities makes it harder to see him as just a bad guy. His time as king is a mix of public service and private scandals, showing how modern monarchs are judged on both their policies and their personality. The Royal Princess Anne. Princess Anne is known as one of the hardest-working royals of her time. People know her largely because she works more than other British royals do. She has spoken up for a number of groups, participated in sports and horseback riding, and spoken about difficult problems that are often ignored. A lot of people see Anne as a responsible and capable person. She is the perfect working royal, and her work ethic keeps the institution stable. People have occasionally thought she was rude or distant because of how honest she is. People have said that her short answers, especially one when she told a group of persistent press photographers to naff off, show that she is impatient. She was the first senior British royal in modern history to be found guilty of a crime in 2002. She admitted guilt under the Dangerous Dogs Act after one of her dogs bit 2 kids. She paid a fine and compensation. People also notice that they tend to put responsibilities ahead of performance-oriented warmth and don't want to take part in the theatrical charm offensive that others deploy. Some supporters think this behavior shows honesty and seriousness, while others think it seems cold and uninviting. Her reputation is one of respect, rather than universal affection, since people respect her honesty and sometimes don't feel attached to her in public. King Charles III. King Charles III has had a long public life, which has given him a mixed image. Some people admire his intelligence and interest in politics, while others criticize his privileged temperament and past mistakes. He has been a very policy-minded royal. He started the Prince's Trust-supported conservation, organic farming, and urban planning, and always used his position to bring attention to topics that weren't getting enough attention. His interest in design and city planning, early devotion to environmental concerns, and philanthropic work helped change the way royals interact with the public and civil society. His marriage to Diana, Princess of Wales, and the revelation of his affair with Camilla Parker Bowles had a big impact on how people saw him. Diana's candid interviews and high-profile media presence portrayed a marriage that failed to meet the emotional needs of a vulnerable public figure, reinforcing the picture of Charles as emotionally distant. Reports from former household staff detailing strict standards and unique preferences fostered a perception, whether accurate or not, of a man somewhat disconnected from quotidian existence. The widespread national debate about the monarchy's political role was made worse by leaks and publications such as the Black Spider memos, which showed him urging ministries and public officials on policy issues. Critics used these to say that he had crossed the line into political advocacy. As king, he has demonstrated a commitment to improve the institution and put service first. However, little mistakes or signs of impatience remind people that personal temperament is important when it comes to leadership. Because of this, he has a dual record. He is a thoughtful, policy-oriented public servant whose personal life and behavior have made it hard for him to connect with those who love him. Camilla, the Queen. After years of being made fun of Camilla, the Queen consort worked hard to fix her image. In stories about Charles and Diana in the 1990s, she was commonly called the other woman, and tabloid culture blamed her for the end of their marriage. The attacks on her were extensive and harsh, partly because of Diana's public statements and the tabloids' thirst for scandal. For a number of years, Camilla and Charles lived a quieter public life, avoiding the spotlight as some questioned her motives. Over time, a carefully planned charity event, frequent public appearances, and a slow return to official business changed people's minds. The marriage to Charles in 2005 marked a turning point, and the late Queen Elizabeth II's wish for Camilla to be acknowledged as Queen Consort gave institutional support for that reintegration. Supporters point out that Camilla has worked hard on projects like literacy health and osteoporosis awareness, and they say that she has acted with respect. Skeptics say that the original emotional and reputational harm was never fully acknowledged, and that Camilla's slow comeback shows how status and tenacity can finally overcome past judgment. Her current reputation is marked by pragmatic acceptance. She is officially accepted, but nevertheless viewed with suspicion by certain members of the public who still have issues with her background. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan Markle's entry into the royal family in 2018 was mainly seen as a sign of modernity and diversity, a biracial American public figure bringing new cultural influence and celebrity status. The first wave of interest quickly turned into divided views. Tabloid news often depicted Elizabeth as demanding, difficult, and defiant of royal convention. Accounts of staff dissension and claims of strained relationships flourished, forming a persuasive counter-narrative to one of optimism. The couple's plan to leave their royal duties and migrate to North America in 2020, which is sometimes called Megxit, sparked a lot of debate about duty freedom and the commercialization of royal identity. In March 2021, their televised interview with Oprah Winfrey made serious claims against the royal family. Meghan talked about wanting to kill herself and said she wasn't getting enough help. Both she and Harry said that a senior royal family member had expressed concern about their son Archie's skin color. People had quite different views to the interview. Some thought it was an important exposé of systemic racism and institutional apathy, while others thought it was a breach of privacy and a public airing of family problems. Later media efforts, including Netflix movies and Prince Harry's book Spare, made the situation worse by bringing up worries and pointing out problems with royal support and understanding. Critics say that these projects invade people's privacy and keep the commercial story of grievance going, which hurts faith in institutions. Supporters say that they are an important contrast to a media and institutional framework that has ignored or pushed them to the side. Because of this, Meghan's reputation is quite controversial. Some people see her as a symbol of vital modernity and a devotion to personal freedom, while others see her as a divisive figure whose actions have upset both the monarchy and public opinion. The episode has sparked a national conversation about racism, mental health, privacy, and the limits of institutional accountability. Catherine, Princess of Wales. Catherine, who used to be known as Kate Middleton, became a public figure in a way that appealed to a lot of people in Britain. Her middle-class background, grace, and focus on family made her an approachable person and helped bring back a sense of normalcy after the chaos of the 1990s. The phenomena called as the Kate effect was truly tangible. Her fashion picks and humanitarian activity benefited both corporations and organizations, and her presentation as a serene, family-centric, older royal won global appreciation. As her public duties grew, so did the amount of attention she got. Critics have criticized the supposed size of her clothes and the use of stylists, saying that there is a disconnect between her carefully created image and the financial problems that many people face. Some critics have noticed that the public image has become more formal and controlled during family fights. Some even say that people act more rigidly during times of high domestic conflict. In 2024, a big controversy broke out when it was found that the princess had changed a family photo she had shared to celebrate Mother's Day. She later acknowledged to the changes and apologized. The revelation hurt people's trust and led to questions about transparency and media control, especially as the palace was under pressure to prove its legitimacy. Even with these mistakes, Catherine still has a lot of support from the public, notably for her work in early childhood development, mental health, and family services. She continues to play a key role in the monarchy's destiny, overseeing important patronages with the lasting interest that follows her both at home and abroad. The Prince of Wales, Prince William. Prince William has always been ready to take over as king, and he has built a reputation for being a trustworthy ruler. His public priorities, conservation, mental health, and veterans affairs have been developed over many years. Programs like the Earthshot Prize and initiatives to help the homeless and hunt for missing planes show that he is practical and focused on getting things done. People regard him as reliable, dedicated to his job, and family-oriented. He is typically depicted with his young family in ways that demonstrate stability and continuity. At the same time, stories from former colleagues and family members, notably Prince Harry's, have demonstrated that there are problems in his personal relationships, especially with his younger brother. Reports of private disagreements and a supposed physical fight that were spoken about in the media about Harry's book have made many uneasy about the idea of brotherly brotherhood. William's administrative position on the monarchy, which includes a condensed senior royal roster and a regulated communication strategy, has been praised by some as necessary consolidation but criticized by others as excessively bureaucratic and emotionally aloof. People see him as a serious and competent guardian of the institution, even if he doesn't display the same warmth that his father had at times. As the heir apparent, he lives in a world where every move is scrutinized for signs of warmth or detachment. Princess Beatrice, from York. Princess Beatrice is the oldest daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah. She has mainly stayed out of the drama that has afflicted other family members. She is a non-working royal who occasionally undertakes engagements and patronage. She has kept her own professional life apart from her charitable efforts. Her 2020 marriage to Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi was simple and low-key, which was typical of the epidemic period. It was a good balance between royal exposure and personal taste. Beatrice has been criticized from time to time for the advantages her family history gives her in private business. And like other family members, she deals with the contradiction between her public and private life. People say she is a quiet, competent person who doesn't like to make a big deal out of things and keeps her cool in public. Final evaluation. These profiles show how the reputations of members of the modern royal family are shaped by a combination of their private conduct, what others expect of them, and a media environment that makes both blunders and little details stand out. There are many patterns that repeat. Temperament is important at first. People tend to appreciate royals who provide a lot of public service, but are also perceived as blunt or emotionally detached, like Princess Anne, Prince Philip, and King Charles III. However, they don't get a lot of love. Others whose actions are perceived as beautiful and socially bold, like Princess Margaret and Sarah Ferguson, may make others both like and dislike them at the same time. Second affiliations and choices have effects on institutions. Prince Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein shows how personal relationships may turn into institutional problems when communication isn't good and people don't feel like they have to take responsibility. Similarly, Meghan and Harry's public statements and media campaigns changed the conversation about privacy racism and the monarchy's duties, forcing the institution to deal with problems it had hitherto dealt with in secret. Thirdly, culture and situation are important. Incidents involving race, such as the disputes about Princess Michael of Kent and the matters emphasized in Meghan's public narratives, necessitated a national dialogue on the monarchy's association with Britain's colonial past and contemporary diversity. It is now important for the public to trust that the palace can handle these issues with care. The extended family must balance their civic duties with their business interests. Financial limitations, celebrity culture, and the temptation to profit from royal connections have resulted in errors in judgment exemplified by Sarah Ferguson's dealings and the financial conduct of certain extended family members, demonstrating how ambiguous boundaries can compromise reputations and institutional integrity. In the end, media ecology turns little mistakes into long-lasting reputational complexes. With constant news coverage, social media, and streaming throughout the globe, mistakes are easy to see and hard to explain in a new way. Rehabilitation is attainable as seen by Camilla's gradual acceptance. Nevertheless, it takes sustained effort, genuine contrition, or concrete service that aligns public perception with institutional values. The monarchy's survival depends on its ability to control how people behave, set clear rules for its officials, and make sure that its public message matches contemporary standards of openness, empathy, and fairness. To do this, it will need more than just image management. It requires cultural competence, institutional humility, and a willingness to adapt traditions to a social context that prioritizes responsibility equally with ritual. These profiles make it clear that royal reputations are not just private affairs, they are public assets that need both personal responsibility and institutional flexibility. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.